presentation of Financial Crisis Recovery.
Foreclosure, short sales, bankruptcy, credit card debt, job loss, depreciating home values, money management. Peace of mind when it comes to your finances seems completely out of reach under current conditions, but there is a way to achieve it. For the next 60 minutes, you're going to find out how to cover your assets. Cover your assets.
At purchasing a new home, I want to go with the 20% down to avoid the insurance and higher mortgage on it. And I can come up with the 20% down by pulling my savings, pulling checking down, and then cashing in some municipal funds that I have. But my understanding is, by generating more income, because we're kind of getting killed right now with taxes anyhow, by generating more income, by cashing in municipals, I'm going to pay a higher tax, where I can go to the bank and put a home mortgage on my present home, being as debt clear, for about 4.25%. And just wondering, from a financial position, am I better off to go ahead, borrow the 20% down against my present home and go on that route, or am I better off to cash in some of my things, pull savings checking down, and just go that way and not carry another mortgage?
Well, some very good questions. George, I'm going to tell you from an asset protection standpoint, and this is going to contrast what I told Kay, who was a caller earlier. Whenever, first point that I'll make is you should know, and I'm assuming this is a higher end home, George, that's in the above, let's say, $400,000. Is that correct?
No, it's about $300,000 is what it's going to be, Todd.
Okay, all right. Well, then that's the reason I asked that is because those higher end homes have a lot more volatility associated with them. Tougher to get loans, tougher to get buyers, but that's a different situation. So let me tell you that I would, when you go into buying a new home, and something that it sounds like, George, you're old enough to know, when you move into a home, there's always so many costs associated with that home that you do not anticipate. And liquidating and eliminating all of your so-called emergency funds, backup plans, as a result, could very easily put you into a compromised position. I do understand the idea that you want to put 20% down, forego the mortgage insurance. And you know what? It may actually prove to be the best case scenario. Here's what I would do, as I always do objectively. When I look at one option, I get all of the information related to the other option, because only then can I make a decision by looking at both options and determining the lesser of evils. I can't objectively make a decision on one or the other unless I have enough information in front of me to make that objective decision. So I would say to you this. I would go through the whole thing as though you were going to finance that cost. I would figure out what the mortgage insurance was. And by the way, a lot of banks don't want to do second mortgages. And there's a reason why they don't want to do them, George, because in this market, if the value of homes goes down farther, and the statistics are that there are 4 to 5 homes that should be in foreclosure for every one that actively is, and the banks basically are holding those properties back because if they dumped them on the market, the real estate market would absolutely take a dive. And that's why economists are saying that they expect that the market, real estate market, regardless of what the real estate community says, and I'm not trying to beat them up, but obviously their business is real estate, and they're hoping that by saying things are getting better, it'll become a self-fulfilling prophecy. But the economists know that if the banks were to dump those properties on the market, the value of real estate would actually plummet if that were to happen. So one of the reasons banks don't want to be on second position mortgages is because, my goodness, who wants to be second in the food line in what could be a declining market again? So remember that when you put your money down, you are essentially doing the same thing, George. So if you're going to buy that home, then it better be a home that you're planning to be in for at least the next 10 years. Because if not, you may wind up not being able to pull all of that money back out. Now, I'm not saying for sure because nobody has a crystal ball, but I will tell you that is a concern. So I would take a look at the alternative. You always look at, here's the cost of the mortgage insurance, here's the cost of the interest on this property, and here's what I would get otherwise. And not unlike Kay that we talked about, there are some things that actually go beyond the numbers, which is to know that that if anything goes wrong tomorrow, I don't have to tap into my retirement account. I've got an emergency fund as a backup plan that will allow me to do the landscaping and do the things, the window treatments and the things that you'll need to do for this new home, and not put yourself in a compromised position. If you tap all of those resources simply to buy the house, you're probably still going to do those things anyway, and then you are going to put yourself in a compromised position as it relates to credit, even though you've got everything paid for free and clear.
Okay.
So I didn't give you an answer. I told you, make the decision from a position of accuracy. Look at the alternative. Get all the numbers from the mortgage person. Then look at where those dollars are that you've got right now that would otherwise be used to go and put that money down, and then make a educated decision on that. But don't ever just make a decision on its face. You can't do that unless you have all the information so that you can look at things and say, this is the alternative, this is better. Does that make sense?
Yep, no, it does. I mean, I'm pretty careful with my money. I'm like, hey, kind of came up through the generation where you kind of kept every penny. You know, I was in the farming community back in late 70s, and never missed a payment, and yet I got the farm taken away from me.
Oh.
And you know, it's a situation. I'm kind of like you and Kay. Nobody's ever going to take anything of mine again because I'm going to own it. If I don't see that I can handle it, I don't do it. And
Very
it's
good.
kind of a sad deal because you got so many people out there that just abuse the system, and everybody else pays for it.
If
you're thrifty and stay on the program, you know, you don't look for handouts, and you know, you see this stuff
George,
and it just makes you want to puke.
George, I'm going to have to let you go. We got to go to break. I agree with you, George. One thing I want to say, remember, folks, thrift is not money management. Nothing wrong with being thrifty and frugal, but it's not the same as money management. A lot of people think if they turn a nickel into a dime that means they're managing their money. It doesn't. Being thrifty is not money management. Let's take our last break, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about money management and how to make decisions from a position of financial accuracy.
You're listening to Cover Your Assets with Todd Rooker.
All right. So happy to be back. Last segment of our show here. We're going to wrap it up. Want to encourage everyone to go to CYA21.com and download the Financial Crisis Bible. Free information, great information. You can also go to financialcrisisbible.com. That's also available to you. I want to tell you that, you know, budgeting and money management, it proves to be the most challenging thing, not because it's a mathematical issue, but because it's a psychological issue. And quite literally, when I work with couples, it is much more, and I say this seriously, marriage counseling than it is about the numbers. And that's why my contract, which I charge $2,500 for a one-year contract to work with a couple to create a budget. For a lot of people, my goodness, that's an absurd amount of money. Well, let me tell you how much work goes into that. That is many, many, many meetings. That is getting a couple to work together and row the boat in the same direction. And it is a challenge, and it is ongoing. And at the end of the year, we develop habits that fundamentally fix the problem and put them on the path to work together. And probably there's more synergy in their marriage than there's ever been before because they really understand how to work together and achieve and accomplish objectives. So it's really a great program. Beyond that, I'm an instructor, as you heard at the break, with Kaplan Professional Schools. I teach a class called Buying Within Your Budget. This is a class that anybody, while Kaplan Professional Schools provides ongoing continuing education to professionals, people who are in the financial planning field, people who are mortgage brokers, insurance agents, and real estate agents, I have sometimes 1/3 of my class are people who don't need the CE classes but pay just to go to the class, because gathering this information is a fraction of the cost of actually coming to see me, which I encourage you to do that. And you can do that by going to CYA21, going to the Kaplan website, and checking out all the classes that I teach, and I would welcome the opportunity to have you in one of our classes at Kaplan Professional Schools. I also have a program called Power Budgeting, which is, again, a fraction, but is a significant, it's a full-day class that is a DVD that teaches you how to create and manage a budget, something that I think is a tremendous value. So if you're interested in that, here again, this is a fraction of doing it face-to-face. And even if we wound up working face-to-face, it would provide you with enough insight to make the time that we spend together a lot more valuable. So I'm going to wrap up the show by telling you this. A lot of people will tell me that they'll do anything to keep their home. They're in a compromised position. They perceive that the home is the last vestige of stability for their kids. Maybe it's in a cul-de-sac or a neighborhood where the school system is good. They're dug in as a family, and they have a lot of community resources and people that they don't want to leave. So they'll do anything to keep their home. And so the point of the show was making decisions from a position of financial accuracy. So I sit down with this couple, and they'll tell me they'll do anything to keep their home. And, of course, that means tighten their belt, watch their money, whatever it takes, as they say. So I go through a comprehensive budget, and I put everything in there. Christmas, birthdays, anniversaries, Mother's Day, Father's Day, hunting, fishing, going on the family vacation, the one family vacation per year. I put it all in there. And I ask them, how much are you going to spend on each one of your kids? How much are you going to spend on your siblings when you draw names? How much are you going to spend on your anniversary? How much are you going to spend on food, beer, and wine over the holiday season? Do you have a real tree? Do you have an artificial one? Do you send out cards and photographs? And every single detail in that budget, and the hockey and the dance and the swimming lessons and the musical instruments and the tutoring for Johnny who needs help in school and all of these things. And you put it all down there, and then I show them where they're spending their money. And they're sitting across my desk with their head in their hands, and they're going, my God, no wonder we don't have any money. We've never gone through anything like this in this amount of detail. And I say, hey, look, you're willing to do anything to keep your home. Tell me, which one of your kids isn't going to have a birthday party? Which one of your kids isn't going to be in the extracurricular activities? Are you willing to forego the family vacation that you take once per year? And when I do that, the tears begin. And their face is streaming now with tears. And they now understand what they're going to have to give up. And the things, remember, they said they'd do anything to keep the home. Now they say, well, these are the very things that make life worthwhile. We're not willing to give up these things under any circumstances. Todd, thank you so much for putting this in front of us. We thought we were willing to do anything. Now, you know what? I guess the house doesn't mean nearly as much as these other things, and they're making decisions from a position of financial accuracy. That's the end of our show. I want to thank you. I encourage you to go to financialcrisisbible.com and check out our website, CYA21. And remember, the Kaplan classes give you this information: 4 solid hours, 8 solid hours for $50 to $100. Best class you could ever take. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Bye-bye.